Welcome to AIA Live, the weekly live stream talk show featuring news, reviews, and interviews related to the sex and adult entertainment industry. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to another installment of AIA Live. I'm your host, CharlieSpice. This episode is the first in a series of online discussions for porn producers, porn performers, cam models, and other stakeholders in the porn industry in the United Kingdom to voice their concerns about the many challenges and problems they face as a result of the opinions and decisions of the conservative moral minority, the government, the church, banks, and other related organizations. The decision to host these discussions was born out of the recent invitation received by the Adult Industry Association to participate in a roundtable discussion as part of an independent pornography review commissioned by the UK government. This review is done by the UK Department of Science, Innovation and Technology and is headed by Baroness Gabrielle Berting, who is a Conservative MP in the House of Lords. As an umbrella organization, the Adult Industry Association feels it is not only important, but also timely to give the widest cross-section of stakeholders in the porn industry a platform to voice their concerns and to be heard, of course, by government ahead of any making of changes in the legislation as a result of the findings of the upcoming independent pornography review. Any amendments to the legislation will undoubtedly have a profound impact on the lives, livelihoods, and lifestyles of thousands of adult content creators and the millions of consumers across the UK. It is also important to emphasize to the government that the millions of people in the UK who are stakeholders of the porn industry are also constituents, voters, taxpayers, whose rights and interests need to be represented when enacting legislation that impacts their ability to support themselves and their families. In the studio today, we have a number of individuals who will be participating in the discussion. Terry Stevens, a porn producer. I could never pronounce his name properly. Epiphany Jones, a porn performer. And Miles Jackson, who is replacing Oliver Carter, who is unable to attend today. And Miles is an attorney who represented several stakeholders from the porn industry. Viewers are also welcome to call into the studio at any time with questions or comments. Simply contact us via the comment section on the right side of the screen, or you can send us a WhatsApp message on 1246-831-1960. The number is also published at the bottom of the screen. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Let's get the others up onto the screen. Epi, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to hear what everyone has to say and learn some things.
Oh, great. Forgive the long intro just now, but it was necessary. Miles, I want to thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Good. I wish I'd had a bit more notice, but let's hope this is a good example of advocacy in action. So thank you for inviting me.
You're more than welcome. This is consider this a living room style discussion where we just, complain about the things that we're not happy about. Terry, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
You're welcome. I'm great. I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to getting involved.
Fantastic. I thought it was necessary to have this. Governments tend to make decisions based on political expedience and to cover their agenda, but they're not going to do anything that. Oh, forgive that background noise there. Believe it or not, that's the ice cream van going by. Anyway, we are in the Caribbean, by the way. Anyway, so this is a great platform for all of us, all the stakeholders, and let's get to it. Let's start with Epi. Epi, you've said so many amazing things in the WhatsApp group chat, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to echo some of those views you brought forward because they're all very poignant and very important to our agenda. What are some of the things that you're concerned about with regards to this independent pornography review?
I think it's important that everybody's voice is heard and all of our concerns are heard. It's such a short time as well for us all to get those points across. So I think it's important that we focus on making suggestions that we can put forward to the government, which we can work together with the government to help put their concerns and their worries, to rest. I think it's important that we kind of come up with some kind of protocols or framework or processes that work together to assure the government that we take responsibility for production of porn, and we have a duty of care, and we take that very seriously in the industry. There's a lot of concerns about sex trafficking and coercion in the industry. So I think it's good for us to look at ways to show the government and make them feel confident that the adult industry takes those responsibilities and that duty of care seriously, so that we can be sure that we're putting out ethical pornography to consumers. As well as everything that we do, we have to make sure that it's protecting consumers as well, because a lot of things might involve us sharing data and personal information, and we need to make sure that all of that is secure. And yeah.
I see Miles nodding his head, so I'm going to invite Miles to make some commentary on what Epi just said. Miles, what are your thoughts on what Epi just said?
I have to agree with everything that she said, and everything that's come up in the WhatsApp group thus far has been very useful. My main concern, I guess, is trying to work out what you collectively think your priorities are, given that we have a minimal amount of time and that there are various other stakeholding groups who also have time in the meeting to express their concerns. I think we need to discuss top lines, like what are the top possibly 3 points that you want to articulate, whatever happens, that from that meeting they will go away with those 3 points in the back of their mind.
I totally agree with you. We will never have enough time, even if we prioritize and have a perfect strategy. We'll not have enough time. This is the reason why we're having these series of online discussions, so many people can come forward prior to government making any changes, which will be somewhere down the line this year. So we're not really in any rush to get it all said before the meeting tomorrow or during the meeting tomorrow, the roundtable, sorry. So I will keep these online sessions going as long as it takes to get as many voices heard. So absolutely. Terry, any contribution to what was just said, or perhaps you have concerns within the industry?
Yes, I would like the government to understand that there is some kind of organisation within the industry. There's some kind of self-regulation within the business in what we do. So all this demonising the industry with tacking on things like trafficking and exploitation. I mean, all the years I've been in production, I've never seen anything like what I've heard described. So I think it's important for them to realise that people who are trafficked into the business, that's a criminal endeavour. That's outside. That's on the fringe of the business. That's not in the business itself. Because what criminal would film evidence of their traffic victim to be used in court later on? It just doesn't make sense. My other concern as well was the banking practices being the financial institutions withdrawing their services from the adult industry as well for non-compliance of age verification, and also that age verification really is, to be honest, a waste of time. You know, it's I'm not going to go into it too much here, but the industry is always 10 steps ahead, and you know, it's just going to be very bad, not for the industry, but for the country if age verification comes in, because a lot of people are not going to put their IDs into a porn site. They're not going to put sensitive data in a porn site. And what it's going to do is really force users to just go and find it elsewhere, and we don't know where that might be. So it is better to have it where we can see it.
Epi, any comments?
I think this is why it's important that we come up with solutions that work with the government and government institutions, so that we can assure across the board that everyone's data is protected, that the government are reassured all the way along the line that no one's being coerced or forced into the industry. I think some people have mentioned before about like porn passes and things like that, which I think would probably work good alongside age verification. But as long as if the government treat it like they do with our like passport information and like driving license, it's all safe and secure. I think if consumers can then be confident that their information is securely stored and not going to be shared or leaked or used against them, I think that we can ensure that the adult industry is always progressing and making money still, and people are able to access it freely and fairly, but with us protecting the children, because nobody wants to see, nobody wants children accessing our content. We don't want to expose to any minors or vulnerable people, and we also want to be sure across the board that everyone who's making and producing porn, they're doing it consensually and ethically. And I think if we work together with the government and create some kind of protocols or some kind of method of us to do that, I think we could all work collectively, and it could help the industry flourish and grow together.
Very good. Miles?
I listen with extreme interest to what Epi has to say on that. I mean, my view on age verification had been traditionally from, I think the last time we got them stopped was before 2019, before the Obscene Publications Act guidelines changed. And it was acknowledged by government and radical feminist, gender critical people like Julie Bindel that age verification just wouldn't work, and that people will kill themselves as a consequence of any potential data leak, a la Ashley Madison, etc. So my view is that whilst I don't think we should be denying solutions, I don't think it's either necessary or effective to have to waste our time in a short meeting having to deny the things that we're accused of, as it were, rather than promote the things that we want. So, I mean, we can have a very complex, nuanced conversation about age verification, but we're not going to get that, I doubt, in that hour when you've got Mumsnet and various other interest groups who need to contribute.
Yes.
I feel uncomfortable because I don't think it's for me to say this. I think it's more for the producers and content providers themselves to really think this through. But from my perspective, yes, age verification is one of the most important issues because of client user data. But much more so from the sex workers' rights perspective is how you guys are getting paid out of this, and are you losing income as a consequence of the government introducing these measures which don't appear to comply with the Obscene Publications Act? So if we take the example of water sports, much as I understand, please correct me, water sports is one of the areas which is legal. It's definitely legal under the Obscene Publications Act. It's not extreme pornography, as long as obviously it's adult, private, consensual, capacity, non-intoxication, all of those good things. It's not illegal, but as far as I can tell, water sports producers have been shut down left, right and centre through economic coercion of Visa and MasterCard. So I suppose my question for you is, how are you expecting to get recompensed by the state for imposing this on you when it, I would say, interrupts your free speech rights, your Article 10 rights of freedom of expression? I'm so bad with the articles, I should know better. But this is what I'm saying is put a positive case rather than wasting your time in a short meeting. I'm not saying it's not necessary, I'm not saying it's not important, but in a short meeting, try and come away with those really strong 3 top lines rather than spending time defending your position.
I see Terry nodding his head, so I'm going to invite Terry in. But Terry, before you start, there are people in the backstage also interested in making some comments. So just let us know in the private chat when you want to come in to make a comment or pose a question, and we will invite you in to do so. And you'll go back out, and if you want to come back in again, not a problem. Terry, you were nodding your head. I know you're not a man with few words, and you don't mix your words. Let's hear it from Terry.
Oh, just to echo what Miles just said just now, and what I said this week, I think if content creators, performers, all pay their taxes like regular citizens do, then we deserve to have the same rights as them.
Yes.
So the way I look at it, if they're going to withdraw financial things like financial services like banks, then maybe they should consider that we should not pay taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need accounts to do our taxes. So if we can't put money in it, what's the point of paying taxes?
Very good point. Countess Diamond wants to come in to say, well, she did say she has so much to say, but let's bring her in. I can see her laughing in the background there. So let's bring her in for hello, Countess Diamond. Thank you for joining us. Just introduce yourself and tell us what you do and who you represent.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Countess Diamond, and yeah, I represent around 300 UK pornography online content creators. And I'm delighted to be able to defend them and voice their concerns. And I just wanted to say on age verification, it's actually been proven that more investment in education is actually it's a better way of making sure that people have an understanding when they do finally access porn, because the people that we hide this from will eventually find it. When they do find it, that they have a better understanding of what it is. So the investment in age verification is all fair and good, but what happens when those people do become of age and they have to see this content? So it's much better to educate as well as anything else.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Epi, any comments to what Countess Diamond has said?
I completely agree. I think it's important that we not only protect children from being exposed to pornography, but we educate them as well, so that when they do come of age, they understand that sex and pornography is there and they're two completely different things. I think more education is definitely needed, whether that's in schools or whether that's online, or I don't know, that some kind of process needs to be made. I also think that the onus needs to be taken not just seriously by the porn industry, but we also need to get like the broadband, like internet providers, the ISPs involved. They have a responsibility too to protect the children and also ensure that adult sites are only being accessed by those of age. I think
I would say parents as well.
Yeah, and parents. So I think like maybe it might be a good idea for devices to already have some kind of parental safety lock on. So safety modes are already in place on all devices. And you have to pay a small fee, 50p, £1, to your provider or to the government to be able to get that unlocked so that you can access adult sites and adult services. I think that would be a good idea for the technology companies to look at, because then it means that there's protection across the board, because it's all well and good us doing our bit, but we all need to be working together.
Yeah,
I think it would be a really good opportunity if we could bring Blake in to the room. They have absolutely fantastic experience within these laws.
Yes, absolutely. I intend to, most definitely. But okay, well, we're going to bring Bitsy in. I'm going to take you down, Countess, and you could always come back again if you have another comment.
Oh, I will. I will.
No, I'm sure you will. Okay, let's just take you down for a moment. And Miles, you have some comment to make before we bring Itzy in?
Yes, sorry to interrupt, Itzy. I'll be as quick as I can.
This is what this platform is for.
So you may all remember that Pornhub were accused of having about 120-ish non-consensual sex videos on them, and they were all taken down. Now, this is shocking and shouldn't happen, and shouldn't probably only happens on those kind of platforms because of the upload systems. I'm not saying that's justified, I'm just saying that's an exploit. However, during that period of time, in 2020 alone, Facebook itself reported 20 million instances of child sexual abuse in 1 year. So what I'm saying is, this is the adult industry is being blamed. Sorry, I'm trying to read that from Sadie as well. Yeah, sure. So forgive me for intruding. I'm just saying that one of the things that is being thrown at sex workers is criticism via children trafficking exploitation,
Yes.
which are not necessary to address in this short format. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. I'm really sorry. And if you want to swap me out for Itzy, that's cool.
Oh no! You're one of our main guests. You're staying into the end. Unfortunately, Miles, I have a lot of questions for you from a legal perspective as well. In your tenure as an attorney representing people from the industry, what are some of the issues you've come across that suggest that the legislation is inadequate, or what loopholes have you identified? And also this strategy for this independent pornography review. What do you think of the actual strategy to get data from stakeholders?
So I think this is a fascinating strategy for the outgoing Conservative government to sort a roundtable, etc., which isn't going to cost them very much money. Okay, and as far as they're concerned, age verification is the solution because it doesn't cost them much money, and they're putting the onus on you as content providers, producers, and so on. So that's one of the problems I have with that particular system, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things I'd like to stress as well is that when it does come to age verification, can the government just focus on all the big people like Twitter and the tube sites first? Because they're the ones that are making all this stuff available. Okay, sites don't make. Okay, look, we have to toe the line in terms of the front end of our sites, the Windows sites of our sites, and maybe reduce the explicitness of them, but that's fine. But I don't know any minors that go to pay sites. They always go to the free sites where they can get free access. So if anyone should pay age verification, it should be the tube sites, not the pay sites. So until they manage to do that, and also Twitter, if they want to bring Twitter in line with all that, only until then they should focus on the big corporate companies first before they go to the smaller boutique ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm rather surprised that the content on Twitter over the past years is unbelievable what you can see on Twitter now. And what have you heard of any attempts from government to put pressure on Twitter for that content, or X.com as they're now called?
I think they're all scared of Elon Musk.
Epi, what do you think? Have you heard of any initiatives or any action taken against Twitter by the government?
I think any action taken against Twitter by the UK government would be in vain, because it's all to do with jurisdiction. The only thing that they could do, I mean, what the UK government do, like Twitter is based in California, I believe. So the UK government can't have a say on them. The only thing they can do is block Twitter. And I don't think they want to do that, because obviously Twitter isn't just for pornography and sex work. It's for business and everything, social media. But I do agree. I think that we all need to work together. The social media sites, the tube sites, everybody needs to come together as a collective and come up with solutions and ways to protect the children, protect society, and ensure that pornography and things that are being distributed is ethical.
I see Countess raising her hand again, but we need to bring Itzy in first. So
just
let's
quickly,
bring.
if I may.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah, go ahead.
Nearly
Go ahead.
lose my train of thought. My Alzheimer's kicking in. No, I think it's important that what Epi just said just then. Sorry, just go back over it again a little bit because it was come back to me. I'll write it down. But yeah,
Okay.
I had it in
All
my
right.
head. Yeah.
Okay. Itzy, thank you for joining us.
Hi,
It's a
thank you
pleasure
for
to
having
have.
me.
Pleasure to have you. What are some of your concerns? What do you want to
Right.
share?
After having read the terms of reference 3 times now, these are the issues I like to raise that I think, in my opinion, are important. Let's see what you think. They keep referring to crimes allegedly committed in porn, such as child porn being produced and forced trafficking of, generally speaking, women. And okay, we know that is something that Miles said earlier on. You know, the child porn that appears on the internet is not made by producers. It's made by individuals, rackets, rings, call it what you want, but definitely is not porn producers or porn studios. And there is already legislation to deal with that. So what extra legislation do they need for specifically the adult industry and studios? And second, what is the evidence, the government evidence that this is an ongoing concern within the porn industry? We know that child porn is an issue and is a concern, but specifically in the porn industry, is it a concern to be considered that they have to change legislation specifically for porn production and porn studios? This is so bad that they need to change the legislation, because my humble answer is no, it's not. There isn't enough. It's not an ongoing concern. It's not, the porn industry is not where child porn or forced porn performance is happening. It's not there.
I see.
The forced
Miles?
trafficking of women is not happening in the porn industry, it's elsewhere. And there's already legislation for that.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Itzy, any response to what Itzy has said, Miles?
Sorry, I was just reading Countess Diamond, who wanted to come back in again. But yeah, no, I agree with what Itzy was saying. Some very interesting points.
Yeah, I
there.
totally agree as well. Now that has no place in the adult industry.
I think that we need to push back against that. You were
Oh.
saying earlier, Terry, about being positive. Yes, that's good, but we also have to stand our ground and say, listen, this doesn't.
I totally agree.
This is nothing to do with us.
I agree.
You know, they are using stigma to criminalize more.
Yeah.
And it's not based in reality.
Yes, Miles.
I think that
It's all right. Epiphany, please.
Oh, can I just say what I was going to say earlier on? It was to do with what Epiphany was saying. When she was talking about Twitter being in California, I think it's important that people realise that whatever business you put online is not local; it's international. That's global.
Yeah.
So it's better to have that in mind now when people are talking about sites, because it doesn't matter where it's based; it's still global if it's on the internet.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll go to Epi now, and then after we go to Countess. But before we do that, you're tuned into AIA Live. I'm your host, CharlieSpice, and we're talking about the porn industry and the review that's being done by the government. We're giving the stakeholders a platform to talk about their concerns, their challenges, their problems as a result of legislation. And we want to preempt any decisions to change legislation by letting our voices be heard. So thank you for tuning in. Epi, let's hear what you have to say, and then we'll bring Countess back in. And afterwards, I want to give Blake a chance to come in and say a few words. So stand by, Blake. Epi, what are your thoughts?
Itzy has raised a really good point, and I think it would be a good idea for us to come up with some kind of way to clearly show the government the difference between porn that's produced legally and porn that's being produced, or child content that's being produced illegally. I think there needs to be a clear differentiation between the two, so that the government can see, well, these are people that are doing it ethically, and these are the people that we need to go for.
I totally agree with you. Okay, we'll bring Countess Diamond in for a minute. She really wants to get back in. When you are backstage, we can't hear you. I can see you, but we can't hear you. So we'll bring you up and have you say a few words. Okay, welcome back, Countess Diamond. I see you there shaking your head and raising your arm and all kinds of things to get my attention.
She's on the ball, man. She's on the ball.
I find it fascinating that we're all talking about these things that could happen, but there are things that actually are happening. So I'm in the union. I represent workers that we talk every day about these kind of things. So I just want to go over Epiphany. You're talking about, Terry, you're talking about legislation in California. How can we impact it and affect it? Well, actually, the online safety bill, which is now an act, which is now law, that Ofcom are writing the legislation for, say in their legislation drafts that because the content is shared within the UK population, because it's being broadcast and accessible to people within the UK, that they are liable, they are criminally liable should any of the content on there not apply to our laws. And Miles, I'm sure you'll agree with that. You're much more clued up on the law than I am, but I'm sure you would agree. So these things exist. We don't have to worry about sort of not putting things on Twitter, because Twitter, for example, already will be really fined, in fact, if any content is seen on there. Now, also in the online harms legislation, Terry, you were saying that it should happen to big platforms first. It's already happening to big platforms first. So the draft consultation for this stage of the online safety bill ends on the 23rd of February. Have you given your say to that? I hope you all have. But essentially what they're asking of us is the way that you report the content and the way that you monitor that content, depending on the scale of your industry, is reflective of the impact, the things you have to do to make sure that these laws and obligations are met. So if you are Twitter and you already have a very big budget for delivering things like this, it stays within that budget remit. If you are just a one-page website hosting a small little thing, you don't have an encrypted talking service, then it's a really small amount. So the amount of due diligence that you will have to do for your current porn site, Terry, is minimal to keep children safe. And I know we were talking about people creating porn and creating child sexual abuse imagery, and how do we differentiate? We can already differentiate, because when we create porn, we have consent forms and we have proof, we have documents, we have ID verification. Now, the very, very small nuance in between those two things, when we look at abuse, image abuse, and we look at porn, there's a very thin line in between, which is very hard to differentiate, and that is when someone has been coerced. And that is something that we as an industry have control over, and we need to find, just for that margin, we need to find ways to make sure that those people are protected. We actually don't have to protect children, because we aren't anything to do with children. That is the government's job. I will sit down.
That's okay. I'm glad I brought you back in, because I'm glad I brought you back in. You were about to pull your hair out. So.
I was going a little
bit.
No, fantastic. Very good.
It's great. No, it's good. Very good.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I think Countess Diamond covered the point that I was trying to say in response to ITSE, which is consent as the denominator, and same points. So forgive me if I'm repeating, but I don't like the idea of child pornography, because I think using the term pornography in that context really isn't helpful, because it's not consensual. Yeah, exactly. And but the same would go for me for other offences which use the language of pornography, like revenge porn. That's non-consensual, so I'm not concerned about that. Same with upskirting and various other different types of criminal offence. I would say AI, fake imagery, doxing, and so on. Anything like that, which is non-consensual. And Blake says they've got more to say, so I'm going to shut up. Okay.
That's okay. We're gonna give Blake an opportunity to come in and say a few words. Diamond, I'm only going to put you down momentarily. Don't pull your hair out, and you can come back in. I cannot. We can't hear you in the backstage. I can see you, but just send me a message in the private room, and we'll bring you back up. Okay. So bear with me. We'll put you down for a moment and bring you back in again. Okay, let's invite Blake in to say a few words. Blake, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Thanks so much. I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I've been in the adult industry for 19 years and I run a site as well as performing, and I'm a member of the union. So if any porn performers are listening to this who are not yet union members, I would just encourage everybody to join, because it would be so great if we had a community standard in the industry that performers had to be unionized, because it's much, much, much harder for people to be coerced or to have their boundaries pushed on set if you have union representation. And so that's something that we can say to the government we are already doing. And if it was more recognised, like the union hasn't been invited independently on Monday, so the government may not even know that the sex workers union has a porn workers branch. I think that a lot of the concerns about the harmful impact of porn, you know, a lot of porn that is like at the more extreme end is already criminalised under the extreme porn law, and most people aren't watching and viewing that stuff anyway. So when I hear people talking about this, what they're talking about is stuff like choking on tube sites where there isn't consent made explicit, like the interviews with the performers aren't shown, the negotiations aren't shown, the safety practices are not talked about. And so this is a problem of two things. Firstly, how the porn is distributed in the first place. Like a lot of pay sites may not be making that performer consent and safety practices visible on the pay site, but it's for the producers that are doing that on their pay site, it may not make it through to the tube site where it's been edited down to have as much impact as possible, like a cinematic trailer. And so people who are trying to like come to the conclusions about what porn is like from watching tube sites, they're seeing a very, very distorted and cut down and like sensationalized over kind of like dramatic view of it without a lot of the complexity and humanity which is there in the original product. So I would love there to be more normalization across the whole industry of performer consent being made very, very transparent, very visible, which is what is required under the Obscene Publications Act for porn to not be obscene, right, Miles? You know about this, when they changed the guidance in 2018. As long as it's consensual and as long as it's visibly consensual, a lot of stuff that was previously clamped down on is now no longer a problem. Like, you know, water sports, legally, it isn't, as long as it's shown to be consensual, and bondage and gags are not considered non-consensual as long as performer consent is made explicit. So what if as an industry we normalized a culture of always making performer explicit visible to not only on our subscription sites but in our advertising and in the trailers that we upload to tube sites in a way which is really hard to argue with, because you're seeing, and I see some people uploading behind the scenes cams and they're making the whole shoot visible to the viewer, and that's great because you can really see what happens, like when a performer calls cut and how it's made and how much agency that performer has in what they're doing.
Before Blake continues, anyone has any comment or question for Blake? Terry?
I think she's doing a wonderful job. Continue.
Epi?
Yeah, I think, Blake, you're amazing. It's great what you're doing for the industry, for sex workers and porn performers. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. Power to you.
I have a question for everyone. There's a lot of structure in the sex and adult entertainment industry. There are unions, there are advocacy groups, there are associations and other umbrella organizations. Do you think that we collectively are making enough headway in terms of influencing government to address all of our concerns? And if not, what else do we need to do? Go ahead, Terry.
I've always maintained that the adult industry needed some kind of face or some kind of frontline that the government could reach out to, or even anybody could reach out to if they wanted advice or information about how it was produced and how it's made, and what our organisation, what our shoots are like. You know, like in terms of paperwork and whatnot. I've always maintained that was an important thing to put forward to the government, so that they can see that we are trying to be to operate legally within the system.
Yes. Epi?
It's a good point that Terry's made, and also what the Countess Diamond made about we already have consent forms, we already do our due diligence. However, the government aren't recognizing what we're doing. They're not taking it seriously, which is why we need to come up with a solution to that, and a way of reassuring them, a way of, I don't know, a way of working with them to see what it is they exactly need from us to reassure them that everything is being done consensually, ethically, no one's been forced, no one's involved in trafficking, because what we're doing right now is not working because the government aren't recognizing it, that they're not respecting it.
But we represent quite a large number of individuals, the porn producers, the porn performers, and the consumers. We're talking millions. What do we need to do to have a stronger voice? And I believe I saw Blake raising her hand. Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we are already doing a lot of the right things. You know, the union and the producers associations that exist already exist. And I think with social change, it's always one step forward, two steps back. Like, this kind of cultural shift is very, very rare to see in one person's lifetime. And so the fact that it's not happened in the 10 years or 12 years that I've been involved does not mean we're doing the wrong things. You know, we've had massive wins in terms of the updated guidance on the OPA, which, you know, decriminalized a whole bunch of things that had been previously prosecutable, such as fisting and water sports. And there have been other wins as well. But the fact that there's still people coming forward with the same arguments that they were making, not only 15 years ago and 20 years ago about pornography, but 30 years about video games, and 40 years ago about video nasties, and 70 years ago about literature, like pornographic literature. These arguments are always going to come back. And the fact that people are still bringing them forward, it doesn't mean that we're doing anything wrong. It just means that we need to keep doing it and keep working together and keep pushing for visibility of the union, of the organizations that are getting a seat in the door with government, like the Sex Workers Union and the Porn Workers Branch of the Sex Workers Union, who have been invited to meetings and have been already making fantastic progress.
Miles?
Sorry, I am having difficulty focusing on both things because there's so much content here, so much to consider. I am thinking most of all about our top lines. So in other words, what it is that we positively want to project on Monday.
An organised business.
Sure. Go on.
An organised business that's self-regulated.
Okay, well, we're going to be. I'm going to touch on that strategy for tomorrow's for Monday's meeting or roundtable. Actually, I want to bring Countess Diamond back in again. She has a lovely head of hair. She has a lovely head of hair, and I don't want her to pull it out. And Blake, we'll bring you back in. Not to worry. Just raise your hand again or send me a message.
Thank you.
So thank you for your contribution, and we'll bring you back in as required. Okay. Let's. I've got so many bells and whistles going here at the same time. Okay, let's bring Countess Diamond. Countess Diamond.
I know I must seem like I'm pulling my hair out, but having not had any time to prepare, I haven't actually done it, so we're good. But I hear everybody saying, I wish we could do these things. I wish we could do these things. And I just want to let the world know we are doing these things. The union, together with 300 plus UK porn workers, and some of those people are also self-producing, producing with other people, collaborating. This whole industry is represented here in the union. We're already doing these things. We're having conversations with the Financial Conduct Authority. We are having meetings with Ofcom, and we are even holding our own conference on the 4th of March, which you're all invited to. And we are bringing in representatives across all walks of life when it comes to the harm or lack of evidence that is when you watch porn, when you produce porn, when you appear in porn. And we have a 4-hour conference to discuss the harms, but specifically focused on evidence, because that's what the world needs. It needs concrete evidence to say, 20 out of this many people prefer Pantene shampoo, whatever it may be. They need evidence, and that's what we're collating. So if you could all respond to the online harms
Act consultation. That would be incredible. And also the porn review for the government. But please do attend the conference that we're holding and encourage your members. Terry, if you are a producer, encourage your performers to be in the union, because we are stronger together, and there should be nothing said about us without us in the conversation. And Terry, you have the power as a producer to influence that space. And Epiphany, you have that power as a performer to influence that space. And if we're all saying the right things, and we're all proving that we are above board, then there is nothing to tear us down, and eventually we will fight this shame and stigma that we're facing, that then causes us to face financial discrimination and things like that.
I agree. What I would like to suggest, Countess Diamond, is that you come back at some point in time and I do an interview with you about the union and your initiatives, upcoming initiatives, so that we can give some exposure. This is what the AIA and the AIA Live are all about. So, so we'll talk about that off air, and I'll get you into the studio to talk about that at length and as a live stream broadcast. Okay, I want to bring Terry from Red Haven into the studio. He's asked me if he could make some contribution, and I would like to give him an opportunity to do so. Diamond, Countess Diamond, I'm going to put you down again, and we'll bring you back as needed. So bear with me. Terry from Red Haven Media, how are you? I guess he has stepped away from the microphone for a bit. Okay, we'll use this opportunity to hear from Epi. Epi, what are your contributions to what was just said?
I agree with Countess Diamond. We're all in this together, and we all need to work together as a collective to show the government what we're doing, and also come up with new solutions, new recognised frameworks that work with the government to put their concerns aside. I think all together, we have the power to do that. But yeah, I think it's amazing.
When I suggested that there's a lot of structure and many organizations, umbrella organizations in the industry, it wasn't to say that I thought they were not doing enough. I just wanted to give an opportunity to hear some of the things that they're doing, our viewers to hear, and also to hear some of the success stories that we've experienced over the years. So that was my way of prompting that dialogue. Okay, we have Terry from Red Union with us. Terry, thank you for joining us today, and we're happy to hear your thoughts on the industry, the problems that we're facing, and anything that was said in today's discussion.
Oh, hi, Charlie, and thanks very much for inviting me. And hi, everyone. It's for me personally, this has been a very energizing meeting. I'm quite a cynic when it comes to this industry. I've been in it for about 20 years, as Epi knows. She came to my 20th anniversary party, and the good thing about this industry is there's a lot of networking going on. People talk to each other, and particularly listening to Countess Diamond this afternoon, I'm really feeling so much more positive, because the government initiatives really worry me. I'm an independent producer. Terry knows me well, and I try and make a lot of productions, fetish or straight porn or whatever. And Miles has been a guide to me, but now Charlie, listening to people today, Itzy and so on, has been an eye-opener, because I've come onto this meeting to learn. But I can only talk personally. I've got a stepdaughter, and she knows exactly what I do, but she found out what I did do when she was only 14. And I asked her, how do you get to find these things? And she said, oh, we go on all the sites and we pass around the links, and we watch the stuff, and the police come to the school, try and educate us. And we take it all on board, we discuss it with our parents, and we just carry on as normal. But there is a lot of fear out there, unfortunately. And a lot of my customers talk to me about this, and they're worried. But I think sites that are behind paywalls are obviously going to be targeted, the big sites.
Yes.
So I just feel that I feel very positive about the industry, listening to what people have said today. And I'm very grateful for the information. Thank you very much, everyone, particularly Countess Diamond and Charlie and Terry. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We need to hear everyone's voice, and we're going to be doing a series of online discussions like today's going forward. And I don't mind doing one every day to get every voice on board if need be. Because we will never, one show is not enough to hear the opinions of the widest cross section of stakeholders. And similarly, one or a few roundtable discussions will not cover the voices of the widest cross section of stakeholders. So it's important that we do our bit to inform not only stakeholders of what the government is doing, but to inform the government about the opinions and concerns of stakeholders. Terry, any comment before Terry from Red Haven goes out?
Two Terrys. Yes. And we have the same birthday, by the way. Same day.
Yeah, we do, yeah. Separated at birth.
That is true, actually. The only thing I was going to say, because I didn't know a lot about the Sex Workers Union. I really didn't. And I'm a big believer in Together Stronger. And there are other networks. There are other unions or support networks. And I think basically it may be a bit of a dream, but if they all came together, we all spoke as one voice. This is what's key to it all.
Yes. Well, we're one voice on this broadcast. Okay. And I think this is what I want to accomplish as Adult Industry Association. I want to partner with all of the various organizations out there and for all of them to use our platform or talk show to get their message and their agenda heard and discussed. Epi, any comments before Terry from Red Haven goes out of the studio?
Hey Terry, it's nice to hear your thoughts and hearing your story as well about your daughter. I agree with Terry. I think it's great that we're all coming together, and thank you, Charlie, for giving us this platform to all come together and discuss things, because I think as a collective we have more power. And I too, I didn't know much about the Sex Workers Union. I actually thought that they were at a separate entity to porn. So it's really good to learn that that they do porn as well, represent porn performers too.
Right.
I think this is really educational, and it's great that we've all come together and can discuss this, and it's going to get out to other people too, so they can learn. So thank you, Charlie, and thank you to everyone for coming together.
Okay, I'm going to take Terry. Thank you very much. I'm going to take you down now because I want to invite Itzy to come back in, and then Countess Diamond. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Let's get Itzy up on the screen, and
I prefer. I don't have anything to say at the moment. I'm just listening, so we can pass to the next person.
Not a problem at all. And thanks for your earlier contributions. And Countess Diamond,
hello.
Talk to us. We want to hear you. Go ahead.
Well, you have the wonderful opportunity on Monday to be speaking on behalf of the adult industry, and I would love it if we could all come together to get a bit of a what would we like to say collectively. So I've got a couple of things written down, and if we could agree on a couple of those points as like a primary thing that we're going to talk. Should I just run through them?
Yes, you can give us a snippet of it, but I want to go one step better than that. My role is to invite anyone I think can make a valuable contribution to the roundtable under my invitation. And I'll be more than happy to extend an invitation to you to be part of the team on Monday if you are available. And if you're not part of another roundtable, I don't know if you are.
No, the Sex Workers Union hasn't been contacted by the government at all, despite trying to reach out and speak to them.
time.
I'm more than happy to invite you in as part of the AIA team on Monday so that you can represent all of those views.
But I wouldn't accept to be part of your team, but I would accept to be a representative of the union.
Oh, it will be stated that you are a representative of the union.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's all good.
Absolutely. Okay. So, and yeah, go ahead. You want to share some of your thoughts. So let us discuss some of those thoughts prior to the roundtable on Monday.
Yes. So I think there's basically reviewing the legislation and enforcement that the roundtables are supposed to be looking at, and there's several negative consequences. So I'd like to just kind of go over those very high level. So I think the most important thing that everyone will agree on is the lack of evidence-based approach. So the very broad sweeping terms of violence against women and girls, online harms, all of these things are very high level, but when it actually comes down to it, who is being impacted by the state of play as it is at the moment, and how can we kind of counter those problems? That would be the first thing I would say that we should focus on. And then I think we need to look at the unintended consequences. So these well-intended regulations have terrible consequences. For example, like stringent stringent age verification requirements, whilst good, and we all need to look after the children, there is a potential for people to avoid this anyway. So the amount of investment that goes in could just be diverted straight to education, that kind of thing. And then whilst we also need to look out for censorship and freedom of expression, we also need to look out for stigmatization and marginalization, which is something that's happening already. So when it comes to LGBTQAI+, anyone who is in a kind of gender queer or gender fluid space, we need to make sure that those marginalized voices are represented in the online harms bill. And that's all I'm going to say. So those are my kind of like top things. What do you guys think?
Okay. Terry.
Sounds great. I think everything you said so far sounds brilliant. I mean, I've heard of you, but I didn't know much about what. To be honest, I just thought you just dealt exclusively just with sex workers, and I think there's a blurred line with that sex workers aspect, because there's a lot of people and even models in the business that don't associate themselves with that term.
Oh no, of course, and I'm going to call out Rebecca Goodwin here. I mean, if she came on board to the sex workers union, but I think she's bigger fish.
She's similar to. There's a whole lot of them. Believe me, I've had my wings clipped by a lot of them. They say to me, "I'm not a sex worker. How dare you? I'm a performer. I'm an actor." You know?
Yes, well, there is this large thing called the hierarchy where people believe that because they do this and do that, they are not perhaps in direct contact with a client, as it were, that they believe that they are better or more, more positioned to be able to comment on the industry. But actually, we're all in it together.
And the worst part of it is that just this small collective of girls have got a lot of influence over a lot of people, that they could change things. Like the petition that went out this week for 10,000, they could have cleared that in within a couple of hours if they really put their heads together.
And unfortunately, Terry, that petition is one of many that have been filled up and ignored, and the only thing that we can really do is keep on going. But I mean, I'm going to make a public call now to anyone who believes that they are a high earner, a high class, anything, the best in the business, whoever you may be. If you don't represent all of us, and if you don't bring those with you on that journey of your success, then you're a bit of a crap person all in, right?
Yeah. Well, if you're not working with us, you're really working against us, really.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
And I've tried to appeal that to a lot of people.
Yeah, I want to give some perspective on my invitation to you on Monday. You're going to be given the opportunity to say who you represent and the union and so on, but I would have to notify them that you're coming in as part of the AIA team for the round table discussion, not part of the team per se, but I would have to introduce you as part of the team for the round table. So unfortunately or fortunately, that is the way it has to be presented to them, and I will be more than happy to have you on board with us. But while you're speaking, you can say, of course, the organization you represent, because AIA is represented by people from all parts of the industry, all organizations, all individuals, etc. Epi, any comments to what was said just now?
No comments. I agree with what you've said, Charlie. I think it's good that Countess Diamond is been extended the invite and can come and represent the union.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we are actually we're out of time. Actually, it's been an hour. Time flies when you're having fun. But like I said, I'm going to host a series of discussions, and anyone who is tuned into this live stream, you're more than welcome to be a guest or a caller on any of the future discussions. It might be as early as Tuesday, the next one. It might be tomorrow, because we don't have a lot of time. So I want to give as many people as possible the opportunity to come on and say their bit. So before we close, any comments from anyone before we bring this episode to a close?
I've got something else to say. I would just like to say to anyone involved in any kind of monetization of anyone's body in a sexualized manner, please will you encourage your performers to join the union?
The sex workers union, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. I was already following you, funny enough.
Yeah. Very good. And I'm happy to make mention of your organization on our website as well.
Oh, thank you all so much.
I'll send you some other information as well. But anything that you're doing, we can cover it in our blog, and we can also talk about it on our episodes as well, because this is what it's all about. This is an open forum for anyone in the industry to voice their concerns or talk about the upcoming events.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm sorry to keep interrupting. I just have so much to say. On the 4th of March, we are having a conference where we are getting all the academics who have written papers and everything on the online safety bill on foster and cester.
Could you send me a press release, please?
Yes, we're writing a press release at the moment, but we're all volunteers and don't get paid, so we're trying our best.
And to me as well, so I can publish it on our blog. Okay, well, I want to thank all of you for joining us today and participating in this discussion. We'll be having a series of discussions on the topic, and look forward to continued dialogue with all of you. But for now, unfortunately, we're out of time. I'm going to have to say goodbye, and I will keep you guys informed as to the next installment of AIA Live as it relates to the upcoming porn industry review. Sorry. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we've come to the end of this episode of AIA Live. We would like to thank our sponsors, guests, and our production team. We also would like to thank our viewers for giving us an audience. If you have a compelling story or agenda to share with our audience, you are welcome to be a guest on our show. To schedule a guest appearance, simply contact us on WhatsApp on 1246-831-1960 or via email at adultindustryassociation@gmail.com. You can tune in to this episode of AIA Live at any time in the future at your convenience. Simply go to our website at adultindustryassociation.org and follow the link.